Welcome back to Healing Conversations with Gloria and Ingrid. Today, we are going to be exploring our windows of welcome for various emotions. And you may not have actually learned about your window of welcome yet. So maybe, Ingrid, you'd want to talk a little bit about, maybe folks have heard about their window of tolerance. Maybe they haven't even heard about that.
Yeah.
Would you want to maybe begin a little introduction and I can chime in?
Yeah, sure. So the window of tolerance is probably a more familiar concept to people as our understanding of the impact of trauma starts to kind of spread more widely. Thank goodness. And if I were to describe that really briefly, and there's plenty of wonderful resources that people can track down if they're interested in learning more about that, window of tolerance is about how much stress we can literally tolerate before we shift out of social engagement, the ventral vagal. So we're very much drawing on polyvagal theory here, and into, first of all, fight or flight, and then beyond that into immobilization. So the window of tolerance is really about our tolerance for stress.
Yes.
The window of welcome is a different concept, which is about our capacity to welcome different emotions. And it's not a general window of welcome for all emotion. It's about how our beings, our nervous systems, respond to particular emotions. And it's grounded in how those particular emotions have been held and resonated with when we're small, and then later on in life as sometimes we move to bring more welcome and resonance to emotions that perhaps have not been welcomed in the past.
Yeah. Another thing I'd like to add to that is one thing I've experienced is when I don't have a window of welcome for a particular flavor of emotion, what happens for me is then I do it's called a left shift. And a left shift for me means I've now left the relationship and I'm moving towards a strategy.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Because it's like maybe the window of tolerance then is more like a state shift. I no longer can tolerate, so now my nervous system is moving to a different place. Whereas I might still be engaging and functional, but I'm not relational in the other one. I wonder if is it something similar like that for you and your understanding?
Yes. Although what I have been really curious about for myself recently, as I've been engaging with how it is for me to feel disappointment.
Oh, yeah.
What I have really been noticing is that with that left shift, and you're absolutely right, because for me, when I feel disappointment, I find it very, very hard to stay with myself in that feeling. And I will certainly shift left into strategies and doing to try to get away from that feeling and make it go away. But I notice too that there is a flavor of sympathetic activation in that left shift. And so I've been kind of reflecting that perhaps there is a bit of a state shift for me also.
So they kind of at the continuum of it.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want to say a little bit more about what that shift is like for you to experience? What that is like? Maybe bring it into, if you're willing, into your body.
Yeah,
into
absolutely.
What your thought cloud becomes.
Yes. And as I'm doing this, I'm noticing that internally I'm going because this emotion is still really hard for me. It's really
Yeah.
hard, as it is for many people, I suppose. Just as a bit of an aside, because it has such a flavor of shame in it,
Mhm.
disappointment for me.
Mhm.
Um, mm, so when I feel disappointment, if am able to slow it down, because this is, as we work with expanding our windows of welcome, being able to slow things down is so powerful, because it gives me space to not just automatically shift left to try to get away from the feeling,
Yeah.
and to breathe into it, and to notice the the sinking sensation that happens in my
Mhm.
whole body. My heart becomes heavy. I feel kind of a lumpy
Mhm.
heaviness in my belly as well. I can feel sometimes my whole being kind of wants to
Wow.
sort of compress down.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes there's a bit of a sort of tender constriction sensation in my throat as well.
Mm.
Um, what else do I notice in my body? A general loss of aliveness
Mm.
actually is what I notice too. Um, and I notice that particularly in my arms and legs. There's this kind of like
Yeah.
collapse. Yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah,
collapse. Yeah. Well, that's the
yeah,
shame
yeah.
state right there.
Absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely.
and I'm just wanting to catch that with a little empathy, guess, if I might.
Yes, yes, please.
Oh, yeah. So I'm wondering if maybe if this part of you is really needing acknowledgement around just how it is to experience these sensations inside you, and just how I'm wondering if you feel quite alone and a little bit lost and maybe even close to despair. That it's just almost more than you can sustain staying
Yes,
present to.
yes, yes.
Really needing some accompaniment right there, just some
Yeah,
warmth
yeah.
and with a little space at the same time. This this really needing yeah, someone to maybe breathe next to you, deep into their belly. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
What do you notice in your body as you receive that kiss? If you're willing to check.
Yeah. I notice uh, a delicate feeling
Mm.
that has mm, some fluttering and some softness. And I feel it most strongly actually around my diaphragm.
Mm.
And when I think about how my body wants to orient
Mm-hmm.
with that guess, is I kind of want to do this
Ah,
and have a little sidelong look at this presence beside me, who's
ah,
breathing with me.
yeah.
And I notice the unfamiliarity of that
Mm.
sense of accompaniment with this emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if this part's needing acknowledgement that this is not a common experience for your nervous system.
Mm.
It's like, I'm not so sure this is safe.
Well,
Oh,
is it? I'm not sure whether it's not feeling safe. It's more that sidelong glance is more. It has more of a flavour of surprise.
oh, like this is who are you? Is it possible?
Yeah. It's more of that flavor.
This
It's
is
more of that
possible.
flavor. Yeah.
Oh, so just notice where that is in your
Mm,
body. That right there, that
mm,
surprise.
mm,
Maybe it's like a little surprise of like a little light.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. And I notice as we talk about this more, and I really acknowledge that orientation that wants to happen, that there's some aliveness, particularly
Ah,
on the side of my face and the side of my body.
wow.
Yeah,
Mm,
which is quite a
fascinating.
beautiful
Yes.
beautiful sensation. Mm, mm,
Yeah, aliveness, warmth
mm, mm,
coming up from your solar plexus
mm,
up to the
mm,
face.
mm, mm,
Wow.
mm.
I'm wondering if there's a sense of maybe this part, I don't know if it'd be awakening, but a sense of like inner empowerment and expansion.
Expansion, yes, definitely that lands, and possibility is the
Mm.
uh, perhaps the thought version of that felt sense of expansion. Mm,
Mm-hmm.
mm,
Mm.
mm, mm.
So I'm wondering if you'd be willing to maybe take this a little step further.
Of course,
I'm here to have
yes.
consent. So if you pause from this place, I can't even talk, this space, and remember back to that moment ago where there was disappointment, what happens now with that disappointment, whatever it was?
Hmm. So now when I think about the disappointing thing,
Mm-hmm.
I feel some tenderness in my heart,
Mm.
which has a flavor of sadness,
Ah,
but I don't feel the collapse
or the shame.
of that has the flavor of shame. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
Mm,
goodness. I just
mm,
want to take a pause just to honor that.
mm,
Wow, that inner state shift.
mm,
But being able to really stay present with the disappointment, but acknowledging the sadness or a need for mourning, perhaps, rather than a total collapse of shame. That's quite a shift.
yes.
One that might need a little accompaniment, breathing next to you.
Mm,
How that, it's like a miracle. It's
mm,
quite beautiful in my
mm,
experience. Just needs
mm,
meant for courage and transparency and vulnerability. And also the surprise of delight of what's possible
mm,
when we're willing to be accompanied in a place where we haven't been before.
mm,
Hmm.
mm,
Wow.
mm.
And how is that for you to receive those needs met from me just now?
Ah, um, I I can really feel a joyous little girl
Yeah.
part. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Who really loves sharing
Mhm.
and gets the power of being together in this way. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So needs met for shared reality.
Mhm.
Yeah, and aliveness.
Yeah. And if you'd be willing then to just check in with your body and just see if there's been any other Any unfoldings that you'd want to name?
The other piece that I noticed before, I didn't mention, but it's really important, is that now that I am much more in the flavor of sadness
Mm-hmm.
rather than the flavor of shame, I don't feel the need to shift left.
Ah, you can stay relational
With myself,
with
yes. And
yourself. Yeah.
yeah, really,
And
really
that's the first
want to stress
step.
that. Yes, yeah, yeah. And so my strategizing mind, which is pretty powerful, is not taking over and not pulling me out of connection with myself, but also not pulling me out of connection with you.
Mhm.
Not racing off to try to kind of
Mhm.
come up with
Mhm.
some marvelous fix for this
Yeah.
disappointment. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It
Mm.
is really an important piece. Thank you for being willing to be so vulnerable and transparent and to name that, to track those pieces and to share them, especially with our viewers today.
Mm.
It's really my experience too that this kind of space isn't common and that's why we have the shrinking and the collapse and the getting busy and scurrying off and let's fix it.
Yeah.
So I want to honor those parts of us that do their very best to take care of us.
Yes. Yes.
I don't ever want to make them wrong.
Yeah.
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 That's really huge. So being willing to be accompanied, to kind of summarize what I've just experienced with you, is how important it is to develop relationships of trust, such as we have developed with one another, where it's possible to risk being in the circle of others or with another being and know that that our experience can be slowed down so that we can tolerate it in order to expand it. It's kind of this massaging it thing.
Yeah.
And allowing it to be where it needs to be. And there's no have tos. There's no, well, hurry up, you're running out of time. Those are all the shifting left. That when our left hemisphere is in service of our right, we are able to slow it down and follow our body's wisdom, which brings us back to our center. And we discover something we didn't know before.
Mm.
And holding that space, my getting to hold this right here, I've discovered so much more than I knew before as well. You know, I noticed in my body what was happening as you were tracking your sensations and all, and I could notice that I loved how you named it. I mean, just having the different flavors of how to name sensations. Let me see if I can remember how you named it. Gosh, I loved it so much. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again. It was like a chunky or some kind of rumbling in your tummy. It was a term I not commonly hear, and I love that about you because you say things different than I do. And so I learned something new, and it wasn't churning or anything like that, but lumpy. I think that's what it was.
Lumpy. Yeah, that was the word I
I'm like,
used.
oh, that's beautiful. It's like
Yeah.
it just totally evoked a different sensation within me of understanding, of resonant understanding, of ooh. And then just to stay with you and even your facial expressions and noticing my own body as I was syncing up with your body, noticing the timing of holding the sacred space. I mean, all of that, we're both in that wash of healing energy. And so we're both blessed by it. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And thank you for your capacity to stay really present with whatever comes up. because as you were just talking now, I was very aware and wanting to highlight for people watching this that when we're learning to do that massaging that you were describing, to really first of all tolerate and then expand into these emotions, it's really important for us to have accompaniment from someone who is not going to drop us and leave
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
the relationship.
Yeah.
Because that's how our nervous systems learn that it's safe.
Yes, very true.
And so having that experience of accompaniment by someone who stays regulated, who stays present and open and warm and curious is enormously powerful. And I, in my own experience, learning that that's possible, and I don't just mean in an intellectual sense of learning about it, but actually learning in my body that it's possible to have that, has been the biggest change for me personally, and in the way that I work.
Absolutely. So it's through your own felt experience. And so again, I want to slow it down for a moment, if I may speak about what just happened. I wanted to make sure I'm consenting. It's really important that when we come up and we have the stimulus and we drop into our body and we name that collapse, especially that collapse. Because the shame frequency is like right before death. And so that's a place I want to catch it for sure. And then as we make empathy guesses and there's a revival and you can see the life coming back, once that's really anchored in the body, and you want to take your time to really be with it, how important we both have experienced working with our clients to come back to the original stimulus and then check in with the body again is how is it now? So then the client has that, and, oh, I was here and now I'm here and I just experienced that. Oh my. It's like, it's a way to really ground it, that this really is possible. I just did this thing that I never thought I could. And right there, you've got the growth. And it's embodied.
And can I name something else that's really cool?
Yes, please.
And I'm thinking particularly for working with our clients who've experienced trauma, that at no point in our conversation have I said what it was that I was disappointed about.
I love that. It is possible to do that.
We don't need the story.
No, the story can take us offline. Yes, it is very possible to do that. Which you modeled so beautifully. And it's also, I don't need to pry for it. It's not about that anyway. It's about those energies that got lodged, the neural nets in our nervous system, because there was a lack of accompaniment in the moment. Now, when that accompaniment is here and the moment is brought up in the body is the one that recognizes it's no longer alone. And that right there is the resonant healing that happens in these conversations. How beautiful. I didn't know it was going to be like this today. Ingrid, it's just such a beautiful experience to have conversations with you. And I thank you for your vulnerability and your trust and your open heart to bring such a tender piece forward, because it's so rich with learning and experiential learning. I'd love to highlight how people can reach out to you to follow up with you if they'd like to have a chat more. And what would that look like?
Well, the easiest way to get hold of me, if you're interested in exploring this beautiful conversational work, is through my website, which is www.ingridgunby.com. And you can very easily from my homepage either send me an email or call me up on the phone, and we can make a time. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
Beautiful.
And how about you, Gloria? How could people contact you?
Yes. I'd love for you to reach out to me through my website, which is healingyoursanctuary.com. And I also have a link on my homepage where you can reach out, and it'll take you to my calendar, and you can schedule a time that we can be in a conversation together. And you can also put in there, if you prefer not to be on the video, the Zoom, give me your phone number. I can give you a call and we can arrange it. So whatever works best for you and what you're comfortable with, that is important. Oh, it's been a beautiful journey today, Ingrid. I'm looking forward to our next conversation together.
Thank you.
And yeah, I love you.
I love you too.
Okay.
See you next time.